Yes! Hello everyone and welcome to Mömus Stuff for Car Guys. In this episode we're discussing our Audi C5 2.7 Biturbo project. It's an A6 Audi C5 and there are many problems to cover. First of all, we've got the brakes that I said last time already, they are dragging, and I think one of them is now finally blocked again, the rear left. So we've got to check that out. Probably need to order at least 2 new calipers in the rear, and then discs all around and the pads all around. And for that we also need to measure the brake discs, because it's an Audi. 1, 2, 3, 4 rings on the front, which means there are always very many variables. So for this particular car I think there are 3 sizes, 3 different rotor sizes. So we have to take off the wheels, measure the rotors and see what we come out with. I've gone through the engine a little bit more since last time, and I replaced the Y pipe that is the collector before the throttle body from both sides of the air intake. That's coming into a Y and then going into the throttle body. There's only one throttle body, and that had a big split in it, so that's already been replaced. That's good. Then for drivability, we're just going to check the whole driveline, because like I said, we have some vibrations, and we've got it on the lift now. We're going to take a look underneath, see what's wrong, and then also just make a list everything. Like we might need new we're going to replace the springs and the shocks anyway, but we might need new rubbers, bushings, anything that we see underneath. Then we're going to see at the exhaust, does it have the standard still? I think so, it's very quiet. And what can we replace that with? So yeah, we're just going to do a general check, every single thing that has to be replaced, and we're going to go over that. So let's go. So here we are with the Ugly Duckling's rear brakes, which are totally blocked. As you can see in there, the brakes also look totally destroyed. Of course, the temperature was too high, and the brakes must have been blocking pretty bad. So the plan is to take the wheel off, and then we're going to measure that up. We're going to see what kind of caliper we have, and then we're going to order everything new and upgrade it. Yes, indeed. Because as you may remember, we are going to build this into a 500 horsepower beast, hopefully. And so everything that we're going to put on, we're going to upgrade as well. So I'm planning to get some upgraded, possibly perforated or with the grooved brake rotors, and then we'll go from there. Huzzah! As you can see, the burned and stuck wheel bolts are off. It's time to measure this thing. It looks like, since we're gonna be replacing that caliper anyway, maybe we do have some space here to get a bigger disc, and then just get the appropriate calipers. But we'll measure this up anyway, in case that's not possible, because this is supposed to be a budget build, so there will be no custom mounts or anything like that. Right, let's measure this. So these are 255, which I believe are the middle of the range. There's a 245 as well, and I believe there's a 265 as well. So at least we got something. But at least, look, these are not ventilated at all. This one is totally stuck. So if we can get some operated and maybe bigger stuff in there, I would be very happy. Then we have no air suspension in the back, which was optional. Just have the standard coilovers, and they can be replaced as well. So up to the front, and then we'll do the same there, and then we'll take a look all underneath the car and see what needs replacing. I can see one item here, a restrictive exhaust system. Yeah, let's put this back on and then we'll check the front. And so here we have the front brake, and as you can see it's quite a nice system with a two caliper setup. We have 2 pads in the bottom here and 2 pads in the top, so there are 2 calipers squishing that all together, if I'm not wrong. Yes, there are 2 calipers, so much better than your conventional 1 caliper system where you're just pressing 1 pad per side. This one is also a nice floating caliper, as you can see, and it's a 1 piece, very nice. Of course it's a little bit heavy like this, but very cool technology. And it all doesn't look that bad under here. I mean, these arms here and on the bottom as well, they are new, and then the shock absorber appears to be replaced at some point for a sportier version. There's something hanging here. What is that? No idea. But anyway, let's measure this up and then we can also replace these. These are not even in that bad condition. Actually, the discs seem to be quite fine. So I'll measure this up anyway and replace them anyway, I suppose. Unless they are really expensive, and then we'll just do the pads. So these are, I believe, 325 millimeters, which are again not the biggest. There is one more size up from this, which is 335, and then you can go to S6 or Audi RS6 brakes, which are even bigger than that. But they all use this similar dual piston brake here. So there we have it. Here we have the brakes. Then I'll lift the car up and we'll have a look underneath and see what we can do there. So it's just getting ready to put this wheel back on when I noticed, holy moly, this is quite a destruction going on here. Let me focus that. Bam, look at this. I can fit my finger in. Yeah. I'll put it on back to roll it around in the workshop, but I would not feel safe driving this anymore. I mean, imagine the catastrophe that would have happened. That would have been some blowout. So under here, for a car with 300 something thousand kilometers, I believe 330, it's really not that bad. I mean, it's actually quite clean. Exhaust is a little bit rusty. There's nothing bad. And then what else do we have here? The rear diff, which isn't even wet. It's just dry as can be. I've seen one thing that is actually ripped. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. In there. Let me see if I can get a light. So as you can see back there, that's pretty well ripped. That little CV boot. And looks like it has been for a while because it's spraying on the rim and the brake too. And that certainly doesn't look like it's fresh. Then further, we have basically nothing to complain. I mean, there's even some wax leftovers here. What else do we have? Yeah, the rear is looking completely fine. I think 2 of those CV axles in the front could be replaced. It's best to do both of them if you're gonna do it. And I've seen as well that the rear brakes have been, the rear brake line has been done at some point, as you can see there. That's new. Probably was stuck from standing already, or stuck from kilometers, I don't know. This looks tatty. The flex piece and the exhaust. For the rest, it's really not bad, guys. So, what do we need here for performance? We need a new exhaust, because that's no longer usable for us in this standard shape. And we need new tires and new wheels. The wheels I'll show you later, I have those already. We need brakes all around for safety, and shocks and springs for performance. like for better road handling of the added horsepower that we're gonna have. And then all the other bits will be under here or above this thing, which is the underbody under the engine. So let's lower it back down and then we'll have a look at the engine. And here we have the beast, 2.7 V6 biturbo, as you can see. Now, like I said, I've gone through a few things already just to make it more drive worthy. However, it's still not quite finished. Also, that cover is not new. I was just playing around with some engine dress up. What have we done so far? We've replaced one single coil pack. We've replaced one of the two ignition control modules, and that brought the engine back to life from having a misfire. And that has basically been it. So what I'm planning to do now is like the complete normal service. New coolant, oils, like oil for engine, gearbox and everything. And everything else like that. I'm just gonna flush every single fluid that's in here that's flushable, just to be on the safe side. Then we're gonna go to the intercoolers, which are mounted there and there. And yes, that is correct, there are two of them, which is fairly annoying, because you can only buy specific instead of having a nice big universal one in the front, unless you do again the custom work like mentioned before. But custom work, if you do it yourself, of course is cheap, but the labor is not. So we like the labor for us, I have to clock this thing when it's on the lift, and I want to keep this as cheap as possible. So I'm just gonna spend as little time and as little money as possible to bring the performance of this up. Then we're gonna do spark plugs, of course. I actually got those already, I'll show you. And so these are them. This is the Bosch Super 4. And what I really like about this, as you can see, there are 4 prongs on it, and you'll have 4 sparks instead of just the one. So, had some customers. Anyway, these spark plugs, as you can see, they have the 4 prongs, which will give you a much better stability of spark. Because what can happen with cars that are boosted is that they actually blow the spark out. So the boosted air is coming in, the fresh air, and it just blows away the spark and you have no explosion. That's great. We've got these. We've got a ton of things still to cover on this engine. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward. We're gonna order all these things that we just talked about, meaning CV, axles, brakes, tires, and all the other things that we will need for the engine. And once that is all arrived and well, then we will do another update on preparing this thing for modifications, because there's no use starting now, the thing is not going to take it. Yeah. So I think that's it. Thank you very much for watching again, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.